So, as the Democratic Party primary field takes shape, we're starting to see multiple camps emerge. So, on one hand, we have the progressive camp, the people like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Yang, arguably Pete Buttigieg. Those are the individuals who are more progressive. And then you have the pseudo-progressive camp, individuals who are trying to rush to the left and out Bernie, the people like Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, who are trying to convince you that they're progressive, and even if they may not necessarily be very genuine in their support for things like Medicare for All, they're at least politically savvy in knowing how to read the room and knowing that their base is craving someone who's going to fight for them and fight for Medicare for All and a Green New Deal. And then you have a third camp who are basically trying to run the most or the least inspiring campaigns ever by trying to outbore one another. And in this camp, I would put Amy Klobuchar here, I'd put Joe Biden here, I'd put Sherrod Brown here, and I'd also put John Delaney here. And if you're wondering who the hell John Delaney is, don't worry, you're not alone, because he looks like the type of person who is maybe a dad who just experienced a midlife crisis and just bought a Lamborghini that he can't afford and is now choosing to run for president on a whim. And you'll get the sense that I'm right about him being in the most boring camp / least inspirational camp when you read about what he said of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. He said this via Twitter: "The Green New Deal, as it has been proposed, is about as realistic as Trump saying that Mexico is going to pay for the wall. Let's refocus on what's possible, not what's impossible." Now, you can believe that if you want, Jeff, or Jim, John, whatever your name is, but it's still more realistic than your presidential aspirations. In fact, I think we're more likely to see Mexico actually pay for Trump's wall than we are to see you win a single primary. Because you don't have a fucking chance. And you are demonstrating that you're not going to have a chance, because when you run a campaign that instead of it being hope, you're basically saying nope, and that's your entire message, that's just not going to get anybody to feel encouraged to come out and vote for you. And first of all, we don't give a shit what you think because nobody knows who you are. And second of all, when we learn who you are, we're going to realize that you are a piece of shit. Because as Nathan Vardy of Forbes explains, John Delaney has made a bundle lending money at high rates to small businesses. He's also pretty good at avoiding taxes. So now you can see he's in this camp of most boring / least inspirational because he's using right-wing talking points to throw cold water over progressive policy ideas that are overwhelmingly popular. I'll pass. Now, when it comes to Medicare for All, you have people who are they've got feet in different camps, right? I'd put Cory Booker in the pseudo-progressive camp, but also in the most boring camp, because even if he's supporting things like Medicare for All, he's not going to hesitate to cast doubt on the likelihood that we could ever get Medicare for All passed. Because as a Washington Post reporter, Sean Sullivan, states here, he recently stated that he supports Medicare for All, but he doubts it'd be able to get the 60 votes needed to pass in the Senate. And since he won't get rid of the filibuster, then of course it will require 60 votes to pass. He also says that he is supportive of more incremental steps in lieu of Medicare for All that would fix our healthcare to a degree, such as lowering the age of Medicare to 55. Man, that's just so exciting. I can't think of anything that will get millennials more excited to come out and vote for you, Cory, than saying that they'll be able to get Medicare at 55 instead of 65. Wow. I mean, to think that these people believe they have a shot is hilarious. Now, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I warned you all about this like a couple of weeks ago when I talked about how Cory Booker wasn't serious about Medicare for All once he made it clear that he wouldn't be willing to get rid of the filibuster and truly fight for it. And now he's unfortunately proving me right. I'd like to be proven wrong if it means that the American people will be better off, but unfortunately, he's proving me right, and I don't think you're surprised about that. I'm certainly not surprised about it. Now, when it comes to Medicare for All, we recently learned that Sherrod Brown, a so-called progressive, doesn't like Medicare for All because he doesn't think it's practical. And in a recent CNN interview, he not only doubled down on that idea that Medicare for All isn't practical, but he basically tried to gaslight people who support Medicare for All in order to get them to think more specifically that his incrementalist approach is the way we should go.
I think Medicare for All will take a while, and it's difficult. And it's selling it to people who now have insurance that would have to have their insurance plans canceled and move into a government plan. I think that's difficult. I want to help people now. That's why you do Medicare at 50. I want to build, again, I want to build on the Obamacare, not repeal it with a whole new plan.
So that was one of the most disingenuous things I've ever heard about Medicare for All, and I would have never expected someone like Sherrod Brown to say that, because he said, quote, I want to build on Obamacare, not repeal it. So he's trying to frame Medicare for All as a repeal of the Affordable Care Act, and in doing so, he's trying to prime you to think that Medicare for All is right-wing. Because what do Republicans want to do? They're the ones that want to repeal Obamacare. So if you support Medicare for All, then the logical conclusion is you must be aligned with Republicans and you must want to repeal Obamacare. And since Obamacare is good and you want to repeal something that's good, then you must be bad. I should be against you. That's what he's trying to prime you to think. It's incredibly disingenuous, and it is a disgusting form of gaslighting that, again, I wouldn't have expected to come from someone like Sherrod Brown, because he's someone who has a career that's more progressive. I think a lot of people view him as the third most progressive senator in the country, but now he's trying to gaslight us and getting you to think that building on the ACA is going to be enough. No, Sherrod, because if we just do that, people will continue to die. And he tries to make it as if he's the good guy. He says, I want to help people now. That's why you do Medicare at 50. Okay, but what about the people who are not 50? What do? They'd still die or go bankrupt. So you're not helping people now. You're helping some people now. By definition, that's an incrementalist approach. By definition, that's a neoliberal policy that will allow for the status quo to go on, to allow for private health insurers to rip us off because you're too afraid to actually fight them. So do you see how there's multiple camps? You've got progressives, pseudo-progressives, and you've got the most boring / least inspirational camp. And I think that it's very clear that Sherrod Brown is in the latter camp, which is sad because I would have expected him to be in the pseudo-progressive camp, which isn't the progressive camp, but it's still more progressive than the alternative, which is the most boring / least inspirational. But, with that being said, I'm fine with them. I'm fine with the John Delaney's and the Joe Bidens and the Sherrod Browns all trying to outbore each other in this race. I'm fine with them proposing these incrementalist approaches and basically trying to run the least inspiring campaigns possible, because I'm really looking forward to the entertainment value that will provide when they inevitably faceplant. Let's see how that works out for you. Because if you think that running an anti-progressive campaign is going to help you out, then that's just politically idiotic. It's showing that you're not politically savvy. It's showing that you're out of touch. It's showing that you don't know how to read the room. So I certainly have more respect for people like Kamala Harris, who at least know that if they want to win, they have to appeal to progressives. But by going in the opposite direction, like Joe Biden and Sherrod Brown, they think they can win by demoralizing progressives in hopes of, getting more moderates to vote for you?
Makes sense.
Subscribe if you like this video, folks. Mike's tremendous, and he's doing a really, really good job. Many people are telling me about how wonderful the Humanist Report is. Bigly.